The Fire of Zen, Truth Does Not Burn, The Basics. Chapter 0, Introduction. First of all, this is a book describing Zen from my perspective, how I know it. The Zen I am sharing here is what I see as real Zen, and there is nothing to know about it outside of this moment. And so if it doesn't match up with your version of Zen, then that is completely okay. No need to let it trouble you. To me, Zen exists as a tool to attain enlightenment. And anything you might include that does not have that as its complete and utter goal has for me nothing to do with Zen. Secondly, from my perspective, there exists 3 kinds of Zen. The first kind is what I view as the fundamental Zen. And the second kind is what I think of as traditional Zen. The third kind is what I would call entertainment Zen. Let's take a look at the 3 versions and see how they differ. Number 1. Fundamental Zen. This kind of Zen exists for one reason, and one reason only, which is to be a direct path to enlightenment. This is its one and only goal. There is nothing to know except the ultimate truth, and that's it. On this path, anything that is not pure truth must be burned away until only truth is left standing. Number 2. Traditional Zen. The traditional Zen is what most people who know anything about Zen usually think about when referring to it, and includes Zen Buddhism. This is the Zen where there exists a lineage from hundreds of years back, where students of masters have realized truth and then become masters themselves, having students becoming masters, having students themselves, and so on. In this version, however, the specific tradition and background a student comes from is viewed as important and even something to honor. And so is the practices inherited from earlier centuries, and specific manners, clothing, respect, and so on and so forth. In this version of Zen, there are often lots of ancient knowledge and wisdom of old masters that the student must learn and digest. And it's more like adopting a way of behaving in the world rather than a sole, pure focus on ultimate truth above all else. Although there have been many true masters in traditional Zen, there have been a tendency for most of the students to be too focused on all the extra fluff that comes with a tradition, which inherently obscures the pure pathless path to the truth of life, which then inhibits their potential to get further than just being a mere student. Therefore, when it comes to the ultimate attainment of enlightenment, this version of Zen is somewhat watered down and a bit fuzzy. Number 3. Entertainment Zen. This isn't really Zen at all, except for the name, but I choose to include it in this introduction to make a point. This is the perfect opposite of the fundamental Zen. Simply put, this version exists because money exists. This is where you get those nice little mass-produced Zen gardens, branded incense, little Buddha statues, pictures and all the stuff you could ever dream of to decorate your home to make it look like a completely peaceful and beautiful Zen-y place. Even though these things look nice and might have a certain emotional value, it has absolutely nothing to do with truth realization. It's for the most part just a commercially created phenomenon. Well, now that we have had a look at these 3 versions, it's time to begin this book. I will not in this book discuss traditional or entertainment Zen, as they have, for the most part, little to nothing to do with enlightenment. My focus is purely on enlightenment and not on any feel-good ideas. So if you want to just feel good, then forget about this book. If your true desire is to know ultimate truth and what you truly are, then read on. But of course, this book are merely words strung together in sentences, and this cannot ever bring you to your true nature. However, the words, if understood clearly, function as a way to point to that which cannot be pointed to, and so might help to make you look in a more optimal direction if you want to be free. But always remember that you are the one doing this for yourself, and I am simply a well-intentioned character in your life drama. Don't give me any authority, because I have none. You are the only authority in your life. I'm no one and nothing. I'm only a voice in your ear, using your mental energy to create voices in your head. Chapter 1. Enlightenment. What it is not. I figured this is an important thing to bring onto the playing field right away, just to make sure you're not believing enlightenment to be something it's not. So here's a list of examples of what it is not, in no specific order. It's not a feeling or emotion. It's not a psychological or spiritual state. It's not a practice or exercise. It's not extrasensory perception, ESP. It's not astral projection, clairvoyance, remote viewing, or any other paranormal skill. It's not in books, scriptures, poetry, music, or mantras. It's not a specific behavior or way of acting. It's not a thing. It has no beginning and no end, is not born and cannot die. It has nothing to do with reincarnation. It cannot be found. It cannot be lost. It cannot be remembered or forgotten. No one can become enlightened or attain enlightenment. It cannot be believed or disbelieved. It is not a dream, nor is it an experience. It does not exist in the past or the future. It simply is not in time. There is nothing to do in order to realize it. The person you think you are can never become enlightened. It is not blissful, nor is it fearful, these being different states of mind. It is not content in the mind. It's not a guru, master, or a teacher. It cannot be given, inherited, or passed on from one person to another. Your beloved guru or master cannot make you enlightened. It cannot be pointed to, so yeah, this book is useless, as are all books. It is not a tactile sensation. It is not a color. It is not a sound. It is not an image. It's not an odor. It is not something other than anything else. It is not a religion, faith, belief, or personal life orientation. It is not a gender. It is not a perspective. It's not a solution to your problems. It will not make you a better person. It will not make you popular or an interesting conversationalist. It is not an achievement nor a struggle. It is not a method. It is not better or worse than anything else. It is not, etc., etc., etc. This list would go on forever. So instead of listing everything in existence, let's just say right away that enlightenment is nothing. And not even that. There, that should have covered everything. Yes, even nothing. Whatever you think it is, it's not. Chapter 2. Enlightenment. What it is. Even if enlightenment isn't any of the things listed in the previous chapter, or any other things not mentioned there, for that matter, then what in the hell is it? Well, enlightenment is the realization of fundamental truth. Therefore, it may be called truth realization, that which is the basis of existence itself. So the nice thing about it is that it is the only thing that actually exists. This means that the only thing you have to do is remove all that is untrue, and what you're left with is that which is true. Not relatively true, because enlightenment isn't about relatives. Everything is true from a relative standpoint, because from any given perspective, that perspective's view must be true, but only from that specific perspective. Every human being is having his or her own experience and thus their own perspective on life. And each and every one of them believes their own perspective on things are the right one, which, of course, it is from that specific perspective, relatively speaking. However, enlightenment means knowing the one and only fundamental truth, and it is not relative. It is true forever and ever. It includes all that is, and it cannot be otherwise. Think about it this way. Truth is that which must exist no matter what else is happening or not. This means that everything that is not truth can be taken away, removed, burned, terminated, and just plain destroyed. But truth, because it is the fundamental ground of existence, the very nature of life, cannot be removed. So whatever you can remove must necessarily not be truth, or else it would not be removable in the first place. For the logically inclined, then, we can say zero untruth equals complete truth. Easy, right? Yes! Now, let me complexify it. Belief in that which is untrue creates the experience of separation. All the drama the world has ever seen is created because people believe they are separate from each other. So the state of separation is what we can call the dream. Truth, life, is one. It's not many. So anything that is more than one is a mind-created illusion. It's not wrong. It's just not true. The experience of the appearance of separation exists, but there isn't actually any separation anywhere. The belief in the apparent separation is what creates the illusion that is the dream the majority of humanity exists in. Being truth realized means living life in continuous knowing of life being one. Nothing is separate from that which I am. Thus, you don't have to remove the dream. You simply have to remove the belief in the dream. Once the belief is gone, everything will be clear. But there won't be any answers anywhere because all answers are the opposites of questions, and all questions spring forth from within the dream. Truth doesn't have any answers because it doesn't have any questions. It just is. Truth is the simplest thing in existence because it is existence, and fundamental Zen is a tool utilized to uncover this already existing one. And of course, since truth actually is everything, it surely means it includes the dream and everything in it. But if you are in the dream and believe it to be real, then it doesn't help you to know that intellectually. It's much better to just cut the crap and realize that whatever enlightenment is, it's not to be found in the dream. So the list I started in chapter 1 was just a funny way to list everything that happens in the dream, because none of it is the fundamental truth. Since these words are produced within the dream, and I am speaking through a character having his own experience perspective in the dream world, it means that whatever I say is already pre-colored and fundamentally flawed, and therefore not truth. This is important to remember because there is no truth to be found in these words. They can only point you, like a not very good compass, toward the truth. And I'm not even sure they can point you anywhere at all. Still, this is being spoken, so it's completely right for it to happen. Just don't, even for 1 second, be insane enough to actually believe what I'm saying, because your own experience of truth will be forever and always outside of the dream and can never be put into words. It's best to look at all of this as a great big joke, not take it seriously, and then keep going toward what you're guided to by your own desire for knowing fundamental truth. This is just a shallow signpost on your way to nowhere. The more accurately I try to describe what truth is, the more complex the description becomes, which in turn makes the description even more untrue since truth is one and anything said about it must be false. The most true statement I can utter about truth is one. And even this is saying way too much. Chapter 3: Zen, the direct approach. Zen is a flamethrower. Untruth is a raft. Truth is the ocean. Your life is a raft floating on the ocean. The ocean is all that is with no beginning or end to it, so the raft isn't actually going anywhere, even though it looks like it since the waves are changing and storms might bubble up and so on. But if you're really, really honest with yourself, there is no way you can hide from the fact that you're born, you live, you die, and that's it. That's all you know. So this raft just floats on the ocean forever, and even though it really looks like it's moving, it's really not. So the only fundamental thing is the ocean, and your raft is what keeps you occupied enough to not notice this funny fact. But luckily, on this raft you have a flamethrower. The flamethrower can be used to incinerate the raft, leaving only the ocean. And this is exactly what you want to do, because you want to remove all untruth in order to get to truth. Sure, great courage is needed to incinerate the only thing that keeps you from dying. You have no idea if you'll survive the disappearance of the raft or not. The only thing you have is a burning hot desire to know ultimate truth, whatever the cost. It must really be the most important thing for you. If it's not the most important thing, you simply won't have what it takes to set fire to the raft. Sure, you might light a match and try to burn just a little bit of the raft so you can view more of the ocean, but in the end, you'll stop the fire because of fear of drowning. Sure, this is just an analogy, but it's a pretty fitting one, and funny too. It might seem brutal to use a flamethrower to burn the only thing that keeps you floating on the ocean, but if it's truth you want, then that's what you must do. You must be swallowed whole by the ocean. Now, this is why fundamental Zen is so awesomely perfect as a direct approach to enlightenment, because there is no care for what might be on the raft with you. Anything on the raft is as untrue as the raft itself. In most traditions, both in Zen and in others where enlightenment supposedly is the ultimate goal, what they usually do is simply redecorate the raft to make it look and feel more ocean-like. And of course, this is perfectly fine. It just won't take you to truth. You'll just dream a new dream where you think you're getting closer to freedom, while in reality you're just as stuck in the dream as you always were, only with new colors around you and an animated smile painted on your blissfully ignorant face. This, however, is not what I intend with this book, as should be clear by now. No ornaments or pretty colors on the raft will save it from burning to ashes and leaving only the ocean. If it can burn, it means it's not true, because truth does not burn. If this sounds too harsh for you, it might very well be, and I suggest you leave this book and keep enjoying your life the way it is. Go read some of my meaningless fiction instead. But if you have no choice in the matter and just have to know what's actually true, then the flamethrower must become your best friend. And let's just mention it right away. The raft isn't actually a real raft. It's something the ocean is imagining. There isn't actually anyone on the raft with a flamethrower, because those things are also just imaginings of the ocean. This means that you burning your raft with your flamethrower is all happening within the ocean's mind. It's not actually happening, because they are all thought objects created in mental space. They are, as the more normal metaphor goes, created by the waves of the ocean itself. Therefore, there isn't any real burning of any real raft by a real flamethrower done by a real person floating on a real ocean. All of these are in essence not real, and thus untrue. The only thing that can be said to be somewhat real in this scenario is the belief that they are real, which is only a belief created by the ocean itself because of its identification with the raft, those on it, and so on. And so the ocean must sever the identification with untruth. There exists only ocean, and not even that. But in this analogy, that's what's up. So pick up that flamethrower and start burning your raft down, metaphorically. The raft seems to be coming from a place and going to another place, Thus, it seems to have a history stretching from the past through the now and into the future. The ocean, however, simply exists here and now. Untruth, therefore, exists in time, while truth exists in timelessness. The true moment of now is pure timelessness. The pathless path to enlightenment is being here now, completely and fully. One might say there isn't possible to be anywhere but here now, because even if you're thinking about future or past events, it's still happening in the now. But in your dream reality, you believe you are actually waiting for something that will happen later, or you look back at old memories as if they still exist. That's how you can hold grudges that are many years old. If you knew at the bottom of your being that the water under the bridge actually doesn't exist anymore, you would never be emotionally charged by memories. The past, no matter how vivid it's possible to remember it, is dead. The future is not yet actualized, and as a result, equally dead as the past. Or better yet, it's not even born. The only really alive thing is life itself, and it inevitably exists now. Even 2 seconds from now, in either direction, isn't real. This is where Zen comes in, because it must be applied now. And what is Zen? Zen is not a technique or method that will help you become something you're not. It's not a doing or anything at all. Zen is simply a label for the effortless being of this moment in its totality. This is what the next chapter is about. Chapter 4. This moment, a.k.a. here, now. This moment, the here and now, is where fundamental reality is found. This moment is the basis of existence, where all that is springs forth from the unknown now after now after now after now. Anything that is not now is in reality gone and can only be found in stored memory, which itself only exists right now. And if the stored memory is destroyed, well, then it is as if it never existed in the first place. Whatever is thought about the future is a projection of the mind happening in this moment, the past equally so. The mission, if you will, of Zen is to simply exist effortlessly in this moment. That's it. And through this effortless being in the now, you will come to recognize your true nature, as the story goes. The only thing needed for this is to be alive. In fact, anything else you might add to your being, other than simply being alive, is something you must remove if you intend to uncover the ground of life. Therefore, if you, for example, believe yourself to be existing effortlessly, but actually are secretly waiting for something called enlightenment to come hit you, then you're deluding yourself and you'll be waiting forever. Nothing called enlightenment will ever hit you. Anything that has the potential of hitting you is something that does not hit you until it hits you. And because of these characteristics, it's not eternal, unchanging truth. Forget about enlightenment if you want to find what cannot be lost. The enlightenment you're waiting for will never happen to you. You know why? Because it does not exist. It's merely a convincing image you're holding up in front of your mental eyes, telling yourself over and over how you'll be able to someday attain this by now Frankenstein-looking thing you've created by synthesizing all the different ideas you've enjoyed most out of all the thousands you've most likely heard by different masters, teachers, and gurus and whatever else. Well, this enlightenment of yours does not exist. And now you wonder, what about my enlightenment? The one I'm sharing gibberish about now? Nope, it doesn't exist either. There is no enlightenment in these words, ever. There is no way of attaining this moment. What happens now is just what's happening now. What is there to attain? How can you be this moment effortlessly, as Zen invites you to? You can either be here awake and aware, or asleep and dreaming. Look around you. What's up? What's the current modification of colors, sounds, and tactile information constituting your reality right now? And do you smell anything? How are your breathing going for you? Are you present enough to be aware of what parts of your body is touching something and what parts aren't? Do you feel the subtle or explicit aliveness in your body and perhaps also outside of it? Are you aware of actually being alive, or are you swimming in some story about what will be happening at some other point in time? Do your eyes still blink? Don't control them, then see if they're still blinking. If they do, beautiful. If not, don't worry about it. They'll blink again. Let what is here be here, as it is, and see it clearly. Don't judge it. Don't label it or try to understand it. Just let it be. Watch. Witness the motions of life swirling and twirling around and between you like movements of energy the size of atomic particles. The answers to these questions have nothing to do with enlightenment, so don't pack your bags just yet. Actually, never pack your bags because you won't be going anywhere anyway. However, these questions bubbled up as reflections pointing you back to what's happening right now. There is no image outside of the mirror, and so what you see in the mirror is what you get in the dream. Whatever you experience as your personal reality in this moment is what's reflected in your mirror. Or, if you'd like, think of your awareness as the mirror where life is reflected. The reflections are happening now, but if your awareness is turned in another direction, it won't be able to fully appreciate the living reflections continuously bouncing back from the reflective mind surface. Okay, I may be losing someone just about now, so let's simplify this. If you want to see what's going on in the mirror, you must watch the mirror. Your life is your mirror. Watch it unfold. If you watch it totally, with all of your being tuned in and fixed on each and every ripple in the canvas that is your experience, then there is no way of you not realizing truth. If you watch partially, as if half dreaming what you see to be something that it isn't, and half awake seeing the nothing that is the ground, then you'll be pulled toward either one that has the strongest pull at any moment, and it will keep you transfixed in an unstable haze of unwakefulness. Wakefulness is key. Complete wakefulness is complete attention to what's going on. Zen is wakefulness. In real wakefulness, no unconsciousness can survive for too long. Unconsciousness exists as a symptom of unwakefulness, where parts of the being is hidden from itself in order to maintain beliefs about self, other, and the world in general. Here, everything the being is afraid of is kept safely hidden from sight of the conscious mind. However, when the true wakefulness is initiated by the being, it opens a non-judgmental space where all the unconscious parts may be brought forth into the burning light of awareness and exposed. As with all illusion, once really seen and understood, it is destroyed. The light of awareness is like the aim of the flamethrower. Whatever it aims at and truly sees gets burned and falls away like frail paper. Some of it might have to burn a while before being totally annihilated. This means the wakefulness must be held over longer and longer periods of time to rid the being of deeper and deeper layers of hidden beliefs and fears. But don't wait for anything in particular to happen. Just be awake to your present moment experience. Wakefulness is the very flame of the flamethrower. The longer the flame touches illusion, the more certain the end of the illusion is. In other words, if you don't pull your flamethrower away from your raft and just keep grilling it, then there is an absolute certainty of reaching the ocean sooner or later. The raft burns. The ocean is eternal. Do the math. So, this all sounds like nice little metaphors, I'm sure, but what's actually happening here is pretty basic and easy. If you're completely present and awake to your existence in this moment, then you'll be able to see everything that appears inside and outside with a laser sharp precision. This precision easily detects bullshit in your deeply seated mental routines and will therefore naturally clear away most of your hard held beliefs and favorite ideas about self, others, and the world in general. Some of your ideas are exceedingly precious to you. Whether you're conscious of it or not does not matter, and might need some extra power from the Zen flamethrower. These beliefs might go so deep that you'll need to really dig them up intentionally and look at them like bacteria in a microscope. In the following 3 chapters, I will babble on about these tools. The most fundamental question: who am I? Meditation, what it is, and 3 techniques: being, doing, breathing. These I deem to be good tools on the pathless path to nowhere. They are merely tools and are utterly dependent on you doing your part. These have no power in themselves, and there is no guarantee they will be of any help on your seeking path. Life might have a totally different plan for you. Who knows? The only thing making the guarantee, if there indeed exists any, is your own burning need to find out what existence really is. Oh, and one more thing. There isn't actually anything to do in order to know truth. It is here now, right in the open, staring you in the face like it always has. Thus, all these things to do are just methods of untanglement from the tightly knit net of surprisingly solid mental structures of beliefs and assumptions held about reality. Chapter 5: The most fundamental question: who am I? Why is this the most fundamental question? If you know the answer to this question, you know the answer to all questions. What is at the root of your being is at the root of all's being. Find your core, find life's core. Don't believe me? Perfect. How about finding it out for yourself? In case you don't actually know who you are. And of course, I'm not talking about knowing who you are at the level of the person you think of yourself as. Like, I am Bob, 59 years old, married, 4 kids, 1 dog, cat, bird, big house, nice car, CEO at my company, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth, and what have you. If you think these temporal, fleeting attributes are who you truly are, then that's perfectly fine. Most likely, however, you wouldn't be reading this book if you thought that was it. So remove all the information about yourself. Every little bit. Yes, even that one. That's right. Let them go, one after the other. Remove them all until you are as clean and uncontaminated as you once were, a newborn baby. When you just popped out of your mama in the hospital and barely had the time to experience almost anything in this reality, you were pure. You existed as you do now, but without all the stories you now most likely hold about yourself. Who were you the first seconds after your birth? What looked out of those newborn eyes? What is looking out of your present eyes? Does this that looks out of your eyes have an age? Has the feel of it ever changed? Does it ever not look? Would you be there to see it if it didn't? Are you it? What is it? Is it an it? He or a she? Is it someone, something, or maybe no one and nothing? Is it perhaps actually the ocean looking at the world through you? So who are you? A lens? A uniquely defined filter? The ocean? Who do you define yourself as? Can you be defined? Who wants to define you? Is that one definable? Where are your real boundaries? Are there any answers to be found in order to remedy these itching questions? Yes, but the answer isn't in language. The answer to who am I is in the experience of being the one asking the question. Listen to that sentence one more time. The answer to who am I is in the experience of being the one asking the question. Chapter 6: Meditation. What it is and 3 techniques. Meditation is your fundamental being. Done. That's it. No hocus pocus, just plain old you as you are in yourself. Uncluttered and open, clear awareness, witnessing experiences passing by in the never ending, endless, eternal moment of now. No states to reach, nothing to learn or unlearn, a perfect no thing. This is you. This is the fertile soil in which to plant your seeds, and they will be fruitful. This is the well to drink from in order to quench the thirst that cannot be quenched by all the world's water. Poetic babble happens, and just so you know, in case it isn't clear enough yet, there is nothing to do in order to so-called meditate. Shut your monkey mind thoughts up and relax in the being of now, and there you go. Perfect meditation. Your first minutes in this world as a newborn were experienced through a clean awareness. Thus, it was experienced in a perfect meditative state. Where is that one now? It's like a blackboard filled with scribblings. They all seem important, but the only true message is revealed when they're all washed away, which they will be, always, leaving the blackboard empty. In this emptiness, stillness is known. In stillness, being is self-evident. So, treat your mind like a blackboard. Your nagging thoughts are meaningless words and utterances scribbled on the surface of the blackboard. Your wakefulness is like picking up the eraser and washing away all the blabbering with pure clarity. Clarity enhances stillness. You are the very source of stillness. The blackboard is 100% empty when there are no scribblings on it. Utterly empty, still, and utterly available. A clean slate is an awake slate. These techniques exist as tools to potentially facilitate a meeting between the false you and the real you. This is in absolute terms, untruth versus truth. The false you is the shallow shell of identifications you've accepted and created due to the complete immersion in the dream. This is where all the facts like I am Bob, 59 years old, I'm a father, son, brother, is married, own a house, etc. comes in. These are all facts about a character developed throughout the course of the dream. These will end when the dream ends at the end of the character's life. Just compare it to the dreams you have at night. You don't usually remember anything about them after waking up in the morning, and if you do, they quickly fade away with time, leaving only a shallow shell of a vague memory, if any, for later. Most of the details that happened in them are gone, and so is all the people or entities that populated them. Nothing bad happened, you just woke up. The life you're now living as a human being on the planet Earth in this specific solar system, etc., is a dream just like those you have at night. When you die or wake up, the dream ends. If the character dies, the person and the dream ends. But if you wake up, it is the person that dies, but the character will most likely continue existing until its natural death knocks on the door and whispers, "Now, my friend, it's time." Thus, the character is just like Super Mario or Sonic being their own persons and living their own specific video game worlds. If Sonic woke up, he'd realize he himself wasn't more than pixels on the screen and had no lasting substance. If he woke up, who would he realize himself to be outside of the Sonic video game dream he was in? The player, you of course. But since you yourself exist in the exact same situation, it doesn't help Sonic to rest in the knowledge of really being you, his player. There's something playing you, and it's here Sonic wants to go. So, who's playing you? Who are you really? Back to the fundamental question. Always back to that one. So, these so-called techniques are a way of asking the fundamental question through your being rather than through your intellectual mind. There is no asking the question, just being whatever happening in the moment and let life take its course. So the first one, being. The first one is the most basic, and if applied to everything will in itself be enough. This meditational tool, if that's a lingo you like, is as simple as watching something. This is you entering a mode of witnessing what's going on in your existence. No labeling, categorizing, or any sort of analyzing allowed in this most basic tool. Non-judgmental wakefulness is probably the best fitting description. Being equals attentive and clear awareness equals non-judgmental wakefulness equals Zen. This is the flame of the flamethrower which will burn down the entire raft. This is the light that destroys all darkness. Being, therefore, is what's up. If you don't know how to do it, it will be great to hear that you can't do it. It's not a doing. And if you feel you must do something, then witness. Be that which witnesses your experienced reality, not the character, but the one playing the character in the background. That one is like a silent scientist neutrally observing whatever's going on in your life. Don't have any expectations about this, just witness, like watching a soap opera in a fictitious world or like playing a character in The Sims. When you're sitting still, don't fiddle around in your head, daydreaming like you're not here now. The witness pays attention. That's the only characteristic it has. The silent witness is itself nothing. The witness are your roots. Follow them down, in, up, whatever, and you'll find your coreless core. Start with being, crisp wakefulness. Next, doing. Now we bring the wakefulness into action. All aspects of life is to be filled with pure being. Witness it all, whatever you're doing throughout the day. When you're washing dishes, wash dishes completely. When you're driving your kids to school, do it completely. Do everything first person, not third person, which is the norm on this backward planet. You may not believe you're actually utilizing a third person perspective, but if you're like the majority, then you're using most of your life energy on upholding mental structures such as beliefs and actually it's all beliefs when it comes down to it. Most of your energy is fed to these belief structures that in turn create the reality you think you find yourself in, which of course includes the person you think you are. That person is a bundle of beliefs. Without those beliefs, the person wouldn't exist. The nice thing about beliefs is that when one put them in front of a magnifying glass and see them for what they are, they pop like trolls in sunlight. The only thing really needed to remove untruth is an intense intent and will to discover what truth is. If this intent is present and wakeful witnessing is kept continuously active, then there is no possible way of you not bumping into your true nature sooner or later. So for the last one, breathing. If you find it difficult to keep the being and witnessing going, you can anchor it in something. Whatever helps you be present works. My suggestion here is to anchor your being in the breathing. I'm not suggesting you think about it or try to control your breathing or try to breathe right or whatever weird ideas might be spinning around in your mind. Just simply watch your breathing, like everything else. Then the observation will naturally grow as you're able to keep it for longer and longer periods of time. Breathing is like the engine of the flamethrower. And you can go get a deeper understanding of meditation and also acquire a few powerful yet simple meditation techniques and approaches in the two books Meditation is Your Fundamental Self and Meditation Techniques and Approaches. Just search for them on Amazon and you'll find them. Chapter 7. That's it? Really? Yes, really. That's it. Enlightenment is not a subject one can actually talk about. And believe me, I've tried. This book was actually a lot bigger and longer until I realized the big word salad only provided unnecessary fluff. Actually, everything here is already unnecessary fluff. If you can be completely and totally now, as you hopefully have understood by now, then that's enough. It's truly that simple, and at the same time, it's truly that unnervingly difficult for a noisy mind. Wakefulness is key. Just be now. And then the clue is to not expect anything, don't think about it, don't wait for anything. Just stay here now forever. Enjoy existence.